Right, so I'm going to run you through our candy stick range and how I get the best uses out of it. Now, we've just added 2 new versions of the candy stick. So we've gone for a black. Now everybody loves a black, especially for zigs. So this has been something that we've been developing and working on for a while, and we finally nailed it. A black pop-up stick that basically does stay black. So I've been fishing with these this weekend, and I've had zigs out there for a good 12 hours, use the same zig, and just stay as black as normal foam. So the added advantage of that is you're no longer using foam, and you've got a biodegradable element there that will eventually come off should you crack off or anything. You're not leaving a piece of foam stuck out in the lake fishing forever. So the black range is now out, and it's going to be a surefire winner, I'm sure, for the springtime. And then also we brought the crayfish range out. Now our crayfish range has been doing the rounds for some time, and we recently brought the wafters, the dumbbell wafters out, and we added a candy stick to it. So this gives you the availability of a pop-up in various different guises. So you can trim these down, you can do whatever you need to, exactly like you do with the normal candy sticks in our fluoro range, to make pop-ups, balance baits, use them on zigs, use them in bags, use them in sticks. So I use them for various different types of my rigs and stuff, zig fishing, floater fishing, but also making toppers and balance baits. Now with wafters and pop-ups, I always like to try and get the hook bait as neutrally balanced as possible, and quite often I will fish with the hook just touching the deck, especially in PVA bags. I'd never really want them just, you know, fully dead straight out the PVA bag or laid underneath. I want them just to cock out of the PVA bag itself. So I quite often tweak mine, and these are a perfect way of doing that. So with the stick itself, you can just chop whatever length you want out, and generally I start with around 10 to 15 mil, and then I'll slowly nip the edges down. You can leave them as a barrel, you can leave them on the side. But also what I do quite a lot of is, people love corn fishing, corn toppers work everywhere, and again, I'm not a great fan of plastic baits and plastic corn and the likes, so I often trim a fair few of these down, and it's basically a 10 mil section cut off, and then I just nip the sides off, and it gives you an exact piece of pop-up that looks like corn. And you can do this in various different guises. So there's a pink one, there's a black one, and of course you can use the Fruitylicious, the whites, the Milky Malts, and it gives you an ideal topper for your rigs. So again, I've got one of my favourite rigs here, which is a little slip D blowback, and again I like that to sit just on the hook there. And all I've done is taken one of our crayfish dumbbell wafters, and I've given it an extra bit of buoyancy and a fleck of colour by adding that little corn looking topper there. So fish that over a nice spod mixed with corn, and you've got the exact same effect as using a piece of corn. Again, you can also put that in as a piece of corn, and that is a PVA bag rig that I use, where if I want it to stand out and I'm fishing over a bit of corn, I might have some crayfish pellet in there, put that out, and that's going to stand up and mimic a piece of corn without using plastic baits. So with the new black and crayfish mix, obviously the main aim for them was putting them out there for the replacement of black foam on zigs. Quite often when you see people using such as aligners and pieces of foam, you will often find that a black and a red works, you know, so you can really band these up. I find in springtime, I don't know why, but a yellow and black, especially on my local syndicate, just seems to nail those extra bonus fish. And again, you can whittle those down. I've just basically put a black over the top of a pink, and you can make them whatever shape you want. That's the crucial part. And the difference with that and a round pop-up is, to get the same barrel effect with a round pop-up, you have to trim too much off. With those corns, I'm literally just snipping the sides here. Very, very little wastage coming out of these packets, and obviously you can see you get a fair amount of these sticks within there. So, and if you're wanting to mimic your floaters in spring and summer, we're in minus conditions at the moment, but it's not going to be long. I'm talking a month or two away. You can use these. I often use bug and SLK pop-ups, but with these two new candy sticks of the crayfish range, you have these two new colours. So we have a really off brown and a really light brown. So again, you could just nip these down and just rough the edges up and make them look like a mixer, and they will go out there and sit between your freebies and sit on the surface all day long. I've also started to play around with just dropping these in a little bit of bug liquid, something a little bit darker, just to offset the colour and almost get the same sort of colour as a tiger nut. So again, you can whittle these down and make them look like tiger nuts, and the same thing, you literally just nip pieces off them to get the right buoyancy. So buoyancy is very critical for me in my fishing. If I'm fishing such as a chod rig, I want the thing to be up there and solid, and if I'm fishing over bits and spod mixes, I like it to be just presented just where that hook point is, just feathering. So when those fish are grubbing around on those small particles, you know, I don't want something stuck up there like I would do on a chod rig if I'm fishing over silt, over a scattering of boilie where I want it proud. I'm wanting it as close to the deck as possible, but with enough negation of the hook, so when that fish's mouth comes near it, it's up and in. And I find that with great effect in both PVA bag fishing. You know, quite often they'll get on a PVA bag and they'll have 2 or 3 mouthfuls. That's the idea of a PVA bag, and they'll be in and out. You want that as neutrally buoyant as possible. But I've found with PVA bags, if you stick them too proud out, they'll often nudge them out the way with the nose, or you know, they'll be too buoyant and they'll throw them out the way if they do eject them. So lots of variations to be had here. For, you know, these aren't tubs of pop-ups where you're going to have lots of space taken up. You know, that's probably a year's worth of fishing for me sat there. Put the other colours at the side of that. You can easily slip them in your bag, always have them at hand. You can drop a little bit of liquids in there as well, the boosters. Our booster range will go straight in there, and so will the Sticky Sweet. So they're an awesome addition to any tackle box, and they give you a great degree of variation for every type of fishing that you'll come across. You know, you have a couple of these packs in your bag, and all of a sudden they decide to start feeding on the surface, or you're wanting to change your zigs. So quick to do so without having the bulk weight of tubs and tubs of pop-ups, which is awesome. So yeah, it's definitely something that I think will benefit your fishing. And there's a few rigs of how I run them through and how I fish with them, but adapt them to suit the way that you fish yourself.